はよう皆さん、私の名前はナチョです。チャンネルへようこそ。As you can tell by that intro, all my years watching anime have finally paid off, and I am now an expert in Japanese.
He speaks fluent Japanese.
What does katana mean?
It means Japanese sword.
Which is in part why my experience watching Shogun was so pleasant. I even watched that shit without subtitles because, come on, it's 16th century Japanese. あなたは私話しています。それは簡単だ。簡単だです。
He speaks fluent Japanese.
Alright, I'm kidding. I had subtitles on the whole time. I even needed them to understand the British guy with that thick gravel accent of his.
A Dutch merchant vessel. We were blown off course 2 months ago.
Lie!
Well, I'm sorry, Father. We'll be all over this continent soon. Go back in your sty, pick up your axe.
Which, I'm not gonna lie, sounded pretty badass. And then there's me with this shit Latin American accent that gets me 0 bitches. But enough about me. As you might figure out by the title of this video, this is not a full review of Shogun, but of a certain character within the series. I do, however, recommend you watch it if you are into intricate political dramas. This show is an adaptation of the book of the same name, which I will not read. I have already enough backlog books to do so, and a remake of the original adaptation in 1980, which I will not watch. I have enough backlog shows to do so, that given the reception and reviews it received, was very successfully adapted and already renewed for a second season, luckily, since it ends in the biggest literal cliffhanger of all times. There's a couple of things that this show does extremely well. One of the first things I always notice is the extremely detailed as well as immersive costume design and set pieces. The samurai armors look fantastic. Everything gets you into that feudal Japan era that I've seen done multiple times successfully, as well as this show that nails it to the absolute T. A lot of this was due to the presence of Hiroyuki Sanada as lead actor and producer of the show. You know the meme? When Hollywood needs a Japanese guy to play a wise samurai, who do they call? Well, what Hollywood probably didn't consider this time around is that Sanada-san wouldn't put up with any of their bullshit when taking the role and producing it in order to make sure that everything was as authentic to his culture as possible. As he says in multiple interviews that his goal was to break all the barriers and fend off all misinterpretations that people have about Japanese culture. And that he would not take the role unless Japanese actors were cast. And the result is a marvelous show, which might be challenging to watch to a lot of people since the majority of the dialogue are in Japanese, as they should be, but all of this allowed Sanada to fully immerse in his role, saying that he felt so relaxed that he was able to just be Toranaga on set after he knew that everything from actors to props was spot on, which he found extremely fun. Now, with all the noise surrounding representation and diversity in media nowadays, I thought that this show is the perfect example of how you should approach such topics. That there wouldn't be any articles complaining, saying stuff like, "Where are all the black people in Shogun?" I couldn't read that article because it was behind a paywall, and I really hope it was meant as a joke. But just reading that question reinforces my belief that we live in the worst period for entertainment in history. And they used to behead jesters that were not funny. And if any of you fucks even thinks about mentioning Yasuke, I will find your house and I will slap the bitch out of you. But if this show is so great, why am I only focusing on one character? And why Mariko? Well, a topic that has been increasingly intriguing for me is the representation of women in modern cinema, and how we went from badasses like Sarah Connor and Ripley in the 90s to Carol Danvers and Guy Ladriel in everything. Which is why Mariko-sama stood up so much for me in this show. And to address the first and most obvious reason why she stood up for me so much, well, she's incredibly fucking attractive.
Yeah, babe!
And the actress that portrayed her, Anna Sawai, did amazing translating that beauty in an elegant way. Anna Sawai, more like Anna Kawaii. Am I right? To summarize it quickly, Mariko's story is fucking tragic. She's the last living survivor from a samurai lineage that was cursed by every other regal family for the actions of her father. Just think Jaime Lannister, but with everything going wrong. Got arranged married to a guy who treats her like shit, converted to Christianity to save her soul, learned English and was appointed as a translator of Blackthorne, who she fought for despite that being prohibited and her husband still being around. She lives every day of her life in shame, wanting to kill herself, and the only thing that keeps her from doing so is her duty to her lord and the fact that she belongs to her dick husband who doesn't let her do it. And, spoilers, she ends up dying as another pawn in Toranaga's plan to become Shogun. So her life sucks. However, what makes her the right type of strong character that's female is her sense of duty and how well she performs it. He ends up being a key element in the machinations of her master, and the one scene that solidified her to me as a badass character was her speech in front of Ishido, the rival of Toranaga, in front of every other lord. And I couldn't help myself but compare this to the monologue that America Ferrera gives in Barbie. And I know, these are polar opposites. We are talking about 16th century feudal Japan and the representation of American consumerism. The thing is, in America's speech is all about how women can never do enough to satisfy what's expected of them by other women, if I may add. They didn't include that part, but that's pretty much the truth of it. And it's just another word vomit from a female writer with too much victim syndrome, saying stuff like, oh, I'm a woman, so no matter what I do or how much makeup I put on, I am never enough. Sure. Mariko, on the other hand, stands up for something. For her lord and the freedom of his family. She challenges Ishido, who plans on keeping them hostage despite saying no one's being kept against their will, and she literally stands up to him, calling on her lineage, saying that she's no mere peasant. Her family's bloodline can be traced down to thousands of years of samurai history, and that she will never be confined, captive, or be a hostage. So fuck you, Ishido, we are leaving tomorrow whether you like it or not, and if you don't let me because I am not able to fulfill my duties to my lord, I will take my own life and all the royal families will rebel against you. Check and mate, brother. I might have paraphrased some of that, but you get the point. There is weight to her words. There is intention and will in her actions, so despite her being plainly used by Toranaga, she is a weapon. Quite literally, because shortly after that, she has to fight the guards that are not letting them leave. She loses, of course, because this show understands how to actually portray a woman fighting a man, but that ends up being another part of the plan that ends up with her fulfilling her mission. After that, she acknowledges her feelings towards Blackthorne after all they went through together. So that entire 9th episode is all about her, and Anna did a terrific job in every aspect of it, whilst looking amazing under 7 layers of fabric and a heavy ass wig, and my god, is she attractive. I feel like we're very knee deep in spoilers already, but at the end of the episode, she dies after one of Toranaga's vessels betrays them and they have to fight back assassins. But her involvement is not over yet, because she manages to allow Blackthorne to make it out alive out of Osaka and have him fall in Toranaga's plans, having him as another servant in the upcoming war, building him an entire navy. So take Mariko out of the equation and the plans become exponentially harder. And that is how you make a great female character. You don't make them an unstoppable flawless force of nature to spite men, you give them purpose. Mariko is incredibly beautiful, but her role does not end there, it goes much deeper. It has meaning, it has a story that's developed that you can connect with and see her change through the episodes without taking away any of her femininity. But it's not just Mariko, because Fuji is also a great character that starts down on her luck, with not only her husband but her newborn child killed to satisfy the Lord's pride, gets pulled into the service of Blackthorne much to her disdain, and ends up, much like Mariko, fulfilling her duties and allowing herself to let go of the mourning of her lost family in a very deep and meaningful scene with Blackthorne, and both actors just absolutely knocked it out of the park with their performance. The only thing that might put you off of this show is the pacing. Like I said before, it revolves a lot around politics, so it tends to slow down a bit from time to time. But other than that, Shogun is a fantastic show. It has amazing characters and the story is full of turns and twists that you are certain to find interesting. So I highly recommend check it out if you haven't already, and if you are interested in learning about Japanese history, this is the show to start with, because I don't think you get any more accurate than this. But if you watch this far into the video, just like, check out this video next if you want to learn about the world's greatest satire. Let me know in the comments down below which is your favorite Japanese show or anime. And as always, I've been Nacho, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.